Good morning to you. We have flipped the calendar over to March the 1st, Friday edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Let's look at the final numbers from February in terms of the highs yesterday. 48 in Greensboro, 50 in Raleigh, 51 in Charlotte, some 50s and even a few low 60s closer to the coast. Chilly in Boone yesterday, only 33 with some occasional snow showers up in the mountains, and that overall fairly snowy type of pattern continuing up in the high country. It is 19 degrees in Banner Elk right now. You see the snow alongside of the roadway and on the rooftops there. And check out this shot from Appalachian Ski Mountain. Boy, that is a great looking shot. There's going to be all kinds of really nice late season skiing conditions coming up for the next little while here, with a lot of chilly temperatures remaining. Just pristine skiing conditions over the weekend. The radar is quiet once you get east of the mountains. Now you look to the west of the mountains. Here comes the next batch of snow, really blossoming pretty nicely over parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, and Illinois. That's with a trough that continues to swing on to the southeast, and that'll be moving on into the mountains later. So we continue to see this fairly snowy pattern continuing up in the mountains, and especially the west and northwest facing slopes doing pretty well in the snow department overall. There's what the radar and satellite looked like late yesterday and then through the night, and you see that next developing area of snow, the trough. It's going to be swinging on in. That trough will also help to usher in some chillier temperatures as we get on into the upcoming weekend. Again, the precip with this trough today will stay in the mountains, and we're going to be looking at just some clouds out there. Although I will say this, it's still possible really at any point in time that a loose flurry or sprinkle could make it out of the mountains and into the areas east of the mountains, but largely tonight, it'll be the mountains that pick up the precipitation. Now, I'll show you some modeling coming up in just a moment. I'm going to show you the Tuesday, Wednesday setup once again, and had some great model runs for snow lovers yesterday. The overnight model runs were not terribly kind, but the general idea remains the same. Low pressure generally tracking somewhere from the Tennessee Valley to somewhere close to the Carolina coast. Tuesday and Wednesday. Now let me show you the latest run of the European in terms of the snow chart, and again, not very kind to most of North Carolina as the storm took a jog to the north on the operation. The ensemble mean still a little bit to the south. I'll show you that coming up too. But the 12Z yesterday run of the European looked pretty good. You see that snow that made it down into parts of the Piedmont zones. Again, not good at least for the western half of North Carolina. And again, that was kind of the end of the model cycle. There was some additional snow, certainly to the northeast thereafter. But at the end of the model cycle, we complied here in the graphic system. That's where the snow was with the previous run of the European. All right, let's go to the modeling, and I'll show you why there's been some differences. And I'll kind of highlight that as we go through this current edition of the video. Now, this is the latest run, the 0Z run of the European, and this is valid this evening. Here comes the first system swinging in, briefly closes off tomorrow morning over the western Carolinas. But again, it is just not a setup that's going to generate a ton of precip across the region. And let me show you what we're looking at for precipitation amounts there on the European with this weekend system. And it's just, well, if it'll pop in, there we go, just not that much. Some rain and snow showers depending on temperatures in some spots, but just, I don't think it's anything overly significant. All right, so let's go on out to what happens with our next system, the one for the middle part of next week. Now, this is 84 hours on the European model. And here comes that next system. What you need to direct your attention to is this piece of energy right there. And it'll take a southeasterly track as we get out to 132 hours. There it is, big closed upper air low sitting over southern Illinois and western Kentucky that then 12 hours later moves over the Carolinas. It's kind of centered right over the central North Carolina. Very powerful multi-contour closed upper air low, and then 162 hours, that's out Thursday early afternoon. It is a powerhouse system just off the mid-Atlantic coast. Now that is a further north track than the previous run of the European, and let me show you why. All right, so this is the most recent run, the 0Z run of the European, out at 114 hours. All right, so what you have here is that big upper low barreling southeast. Now you go out to 126 hours on the previous run, so this is the same time frame. A couple things are different. One, notice this little piece of energy is not there on the most recent run, but really What affects the track the most is just the shape of the vorticity. That's the color shadings you see here. Notice there's a little lobe of vorticity on the south and west side of this closed upper air low, and as that pivots around, it actually drags the track a little bit more to the south. So again, there's the most recent run. This is valid early Tuesday afternoon, and there's the previous run. And so, I mean, you're even dealing with, the shapes of the vorticity that can have a pretty big impact on the overall track of these closed upper air lows. And so, what does it look like at the surface? Well, this is the latest run of the European. Okay, so you have a surface low, kind of a double-barreled surface low, one over Georgia, one sitting over eastern Kentucky and Tennessee. It spread some rain showers into the Carolinas Tuesday. And there's your low sitting over the coast by Wednesday morning that then tries to deepen from there and spread a few snow showers behind it into the Carolinas. But the big snows with this are further to the north, from parts of Virginia on north through parts of the northeast. Okay, now here is the difference with the previous run of the European. You had that low pressure crank right off the North Carolina coast. It spread some decent snows back into a good chunk of North Carolina and even some of upper South Carolina too. And you also had, let me go back to that chart from the previous run of the European. You also had some nice phasing eventually take place between those two pieces of energy, and that caused the system to deepen right along the coast. All right, let's go back, grab the 100, and let's see if I put 120 hours in there. All right, here's the operation. All right, here's the operational at 120 hours. Now let me show you the ensemble mean from the European at the same time frame. Here it comes right there. And it's a little bit more of a favorable track for at least some North Carolina snow than what has occurred on the operational run. Now, some other modeling here. Let me see what else I got for you. I believe I stuck the Canadian. Okay, so here it comes. This will be 126 hours in the Canadian. It is the furthest north model. 128 hours. That low pressure is centered near the North Carolina and Virginia line, and then this thing really deepens from there and gives again the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic a big snowstorm. The GFS. This is the 0Z run of the GFS here, and this is the 0Z run, the latest one in-house as I'm cutting this video. So this is Tuesday afternoon, rain showers spreading in. 12 hours later, there's the low pressure near the South Carolina coast, and then you go 6 hours later and the system is pulling offshore, and it really doesn't deepen until much later. Now I think I stuck some GFS charts in here. Hang on. All right, the upper air low winds up taking a pretty favorable track for Carolina upper air lows. Now, there we go. There's the chart I was looking for. There's the GFS at 132 hours. And again, if you looked at the pure track of the upper air low, that's pretty good for at least some North Carolina snow. So again, you're dealing with some pretty subtle differences. The last things I'll show you here, the hand-drawn charts from the HPC. There is Tuesday morning, and then you get out to Wednesday morning, and it's a little bit further south in a couple of the more recent operational runs. So we will see how this all plays out. Certainly, this could wind up being a snowstorm anywhere from the Northeast to maybe the Carolinas. It all depends on the track and the amount of phasing with this system, and it's just going to be something we have to continue to watch, and there'll probably be a lot of variability in the modeling. There's a lot of energy flying around, and it just depends on the exact amount of phasing and strength, even shape of the features here as they push on into our part of the country. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, and God bless.